are so excited to have back with us today Dr. Kate Rheaume, who graduated from McMaster University with an honors and bachelor of science in biology and completed her professional training at the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine in Toronto. She followed with a 2-year residency during which she taught classes and supervised at various teaching clinics. And as an educator, she regularly appears on television and radio teaching about many health topics. Dr. Kate is a Canadian expert in natural medicine and speaks internationally, and we're so excited to have her back here.
That's right.
Well, welcome back, Dr. Kate.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm so glad to be back on the show.
Now, we're going to talk about fermentation today. And I have, at home I've made my own sauerkraut, fermented that. I've made pickles, I've fermented them. I've even made my own beer. So how does fermentation what does that have to do with vitamins and nutrition and natural health?
A lot. And this is a topic that is hot now. I'm so delighted to hear. I love to hear from people who are doing their own fermentation at home, experimenting with that, for culinary or food purposes. And it is actually nutritional alchemy, really. This is a traditional way of preparing and preserving food, but that actually helps make food easier to digest, first of all. It provides pre- and probiotics in many cases because, of course, you're encouraging the growth of good, healthy bacteria. And those healthy bacteria bring a number of nutrients to the table. In some cases, they are creating new vitamins and minerals that didn't exist in that food before, so they're taking the food as a substrate and creating nutrients from it. In many cases, they're creating things like short-chain fatty acids. There's so much going on with fermentation. Plus, those good bacteria are breaking down components of food that are often indigestible to us. And so this form of predigestion makes it really invaluable for all kinds of nutrients and different aspects of our nutrition.
Now, as a practitioner, I'm sure you've noticed that digestive problems seem to be top of what's going on in the United States that leads to other health problems. Why is the digestion so important?
Well, there's an old saying that everything begins in the gut, and that is absolutely true. Digestive problems are one of the number one reasons that people will seek their practitioner for help, and it really can affect the entire quality of life. What's going on in the intestines, of course, affects what we can absorb, and the old expression, we are what we eat. Well, in fact, we are what we absorb, and so that's really important, as well as the microbiome, the balance of healthy bacteria in the intestines, and there's always a few unhealthy ones, but the healthy guys keep them crowded out. That has a major impact on our immune system, our mood, even hormones. It really is very fundamental to our health.
If you could explain a little for the listeners, because fermentation is a funny thing. It's it's almost like when food starts going bad.
That's right. Yes. This is where, when it comes to fermentation, there's an art and a science. And yes, if you let it go too far, it does become bad. You have to know exactly how much to ferment. The microorganisms that's doing the fermentation is important, and this is why, different fermented foods, for example, have different properties and different nutrients. And it is, I guess on one level, you could look at it as very carefully in a controlled fashion, letting your food go bad in just the right way. But in fact, it's letting your food go good. It's turning it into something even better than you had to begin with.
And common examples, yogurt, for instance, would be something along those lines?
Yogurt, kefir, cheeses, and again, the sauerkraut that you mentioned. The world over, there are thousands of different types of fermented foods, and I think we've come to eat less of them in the North American diet. And the refrigerator hasn't been our friend in this department. Once we could preserve things in the fridge, we started eating a lot less fermented foods, and this did impact our digestion and the health of our gastrointestinal tract, which in turn affects the whole body.
Now, a lot of people will ask us as far as, what multivitamin should I take? What's the best quality out there? Does fermentation kind of make a factor for you as far as deciding which one is the best?
It does. In many cases, a multivitamin and mineral supplement is great basic health insurance to provide the nutrients that we need to bridge our daily diet to what would be an optimal diet. It really goes so far. And the Humble Multi has come a long way from, the one-a-days that we may have taken when we were kids. Big improvements and differences. And fermentation does play a role here because many nutrients that we would get in our multivitamin, for example, can be produced through fermentation. And those nutrients are featured in the Whole Earth and Sea multis, as well as many other areas of the Whole Earth and Sea line of products. And so that's one advantage I see to those multis. There are many of them actually. And this is again another way where we're harnessing the power of fermentation to improve nutrition.
And we used to look at, we'd use the term whole food vitamins, which were great, kind of breaking down the foods, the vegetables and the fruits and putting them in a tablet. But the fermentation
takes it to the next level.
That's right. The concept of whole food vitamins is one that I love, and yet in practice, trying to get a true whole food vitamin can be tough in that concentrating the amounts of nutrients that you would need, individual nutrients from foods, is a real challenge. And fermentation, the microorganisms are producing and increasing the concentration. They're doing that work for you in many cases. And so where you can derive nutrients from fermentation, you take certain bacteria and you treat them nicely and you feed them what they like to eat, and they'll produce lots of, for example, different B vitamins is one of them. Vitamin K2, of course, is near and dear to my heart because that's the topic of my book, and that is produced through fermentation. And so there's a real advantage into harnessing that power.
And I would say that Natural Factors has kind of cornered the market on this, in particular with their whole food and sea supplements. That's right. The multis contain many nutrients that come from a fermentation process in a base of like a whole food concentrate. And then as well, in the Whole Earth and Sea line, there are a couple of products that I think are especially beneficial in the fermented state, which are the plant-based proteins, the Whole Earth and Sea 100% organic proteins and greens, as well as the greens formula. And again, when you're looking at plant-based proteins, which I know are very popular, people are looking for more plant-based protein, fermentation makes a huge difference in terms of digestibility, palatability, and helping to break down the indigestible components in those plants so you can get at and absorb the protein. So rather than taking a multi out there that, you get at your local,
drugstore
or whatever, and having it just sit there in your stomach, the Whole Earth and Sea is going to be broken down much more easily and as you said, absorbed. Dr. Kate, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, let's talk a little bit more about the protein formula that you just mentioned, because, like you said, a lot of people are looking particularly to get fit and get exercising and are looking to what is a good form of protein to be digestible. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to Holistic Healthline, your direct line to great health, and Dr. Kate will be back in a moment. And welcome back to Holistic Healthline, the direct line to great health. And our guest is Dr. Kate Rheaume. Again, she is a naturopath. She is the Canadian expert in natural medicine. She speaks all over the world, and we have her here. And so we're picking her brain. Dr. Kate, today, so many people are eating so many starches and sugars and diabetes and cholesterol, and all these different problems are escalating. And now they're starting to think about this, that maybe there's another way to go to get healthier. How important is protein in our diet?
It is so important for so many different reasons. First of all, it helps to, of course, build muscles. Our muscles are made of protein, and we need protein and amino acids to do that. The amino acids from protein also help to make neurotransmitters. So these are the feel-good hormones, brain chemicals. Actually, many of them are made in the intestines, but they help our brain work properly. And protein is something that will help us feel full and satisfied and keep our blood sugar stable throughout the day. So having protein at every meal, and especially at breakfast, can make a big difference with our energy levels, our cravings, and breakfast in particular is a time when it's easier for people to skimp on protein and just reach for, the bagels, the muffins, cereal. Common breakfast foods are typically very low in protein in North America.
And you had the natural factors as the fermented greens and the proteins together in one product. Do they work synergistically?
Absolutely. First of all, a greens, concentrate. A green food is a wonderful way to up your nutritional game, to increase your intake of phytonutrients. So these are plant-based nutrients. The reason why so many plants make it to the list of superfoods is not as much for their vitamin and mineral content, but they're these phytonutrients that help our immune system and our stress response. And we don't have time for those kinds of foods necessarily every single day. And so this is where the whole earth and sea greens comes in. And by fermenting that helps to, first of all, mellow out the flavor profile, so it doesn't have that strong grassy flavor that many people don't enjoy with green food supplements, and help increase the digestibility. Now, you can also get that paired with plant-based proteins. That's the proteins and greens combo, and these do work synergistically because you're getting the benefits of proteins along with the other plant-based foods. So this is something that really, from a nutritional standpoint, helps you pack so much nutrition into one quick meal or snack.
So that would be a great way to start your morning, not only, just to feel, satisfied, but also to get your energy going and get your brain functioning.
Exactly. What you eat for breakfast really sets the tone for the rest of your day in terms of your cravings, your mood, your energy, and that can affect a lot. And so, and people are busy in the morning often, and so this is, the whole earth and sea proteins and greens combo allows you to get that protein in. So 21 grams of plant-based protein per single scoop. It comes in a number of different flavors, including a new vanilla chai flavor, which is really popular. And, when something is quick and tasty, we tend to remember to take it and want to take it instead of forgetting. So it's easier to get those advantages.
And I would think for especially like the elderly or anybody who's having absorption issues, eating regular meals, this would be a great filler.
That is a really important point. I'm glad you brought that up because exactly right. For people who are having absorption issues, or for people that their appetite just isn't that great, then any time throughout the day, whether it's breakfast or a snack, this is a way to get in more protein, which for older people is critical in maintaining muscle mass. And if you can maintain your muscle mass, it helps with balance, preventing, fragility. This, maintaining muscle mass is really important for everyone as we age.
Now, a lot of older people are afraid of taking anything that has greens in it because of vitamin K, and the doctors have them all freaked out about it, particularly those who are on Coumadin. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for people who are on Coumadin, warfarin, they need to work with their doctor to make sure that their blood levels and their clotting factors are maintaining in the therapeutic range. They have to work with their doctor on that. But for anybody else, it is absolutely not a concern whatsoever. It is something that is healthy. It will help maintain the appropriate balance between clotting and non-clotting in our blood. And the nutritional advantages all around, simply, they can't be beat. These foods are so nutritious.
I mentioned the elderly and the people with absorption problems, but I'm sitting here thinking parents who have trouble with their children eating vegetables, this will also be a great way to sneak it in there.
Exactly. And again, because of the fermentation, the flavor of these, as I was mentioning before, is much more gentler. It doesn't have that strong grassy flavor, and so it really goes over very well with kids. And even just, if kids who may be sensitive to taste, even just sneaking a little bit of it in is getting a concentrated fruits and vegetables that they wouldn't be getting in otherwise.
Now, we have some parents who, for instance, to try and get it into the diet, will add these kind of foods to spaghetti sauce or something like that. Is that something that they can do?
Oh, yes, you can easily mix this in without noticing it to lots of foods. And, of course, kids do love smoothies. Throw some pineapple or bananas in there, it sweetens it up, and they will, kids really love that kind of smooth, creamy taste.
I want to encourage people to go to naturalfactors.com, and you can find out where you can purchase Natural Factors products. In particular, the whole earth and sea formulas that we've been talking about. If you go to naturalfactors.com, you can just put in your zip code and they can tell you right where it's being sold. And Dr. Kate, is there a telephone number or email address or something that people can get a hold of you?
Sure. People can find me through my website, www.drkatend for naturopathicdoctor.com.
Excellent. We want to thank you so much for joining us today. And any final words that you have for our audience that, again, kind of they feel comfortable doing this?
Well, for people, if you're not feeling as well as you'd like to, your energy, these kinds of things, it's amazing how quickly and what a difference it can make to be getting adequate protein intake, or even just a good high-quality multi like the Whole Earth and Sea multi, or we were talking about fermented proteins, can make a big difference in just your day-to-day well-being.
And with the Whole Earth and Sea, they also break down the multivitamins into the people who are under 50 and the people who are over 50. What kind of makes a difference between them?
There are several differences, especially for the women's. The women's under 50 contains iron, and the women's over 50 doesn't. That's one important difference. And there are a few others for the men's, for example. The over 50 formula has more herbs for prostate support, which becomes important as men age. So there are a few significant differences when it comes to those different formulas. But there are 4 formulas tailored for people, men and women, at different stages of life.
And there's also so many other Whole Earth and Sea formulas that we didn't even get a chance to talk about. So again, encourage people to go to naturalfactors.com.
I will say, again, there's so many people out there listening who take the average drugstore multivitamin just because they think, well, I've always taken a multi and it's good for you and I'll just keep taking it. If you take this Whole Earth and Sea formula, you're actually going to feel a difference.
This is the one of the products that consistently, and strangely, I seem to hear this more from men. Maybe they're just more surprised that people will say, I actually feel a difference. I have more energy. I feel better. And I hear this frequently. I hear this all the time.
I think maybe with men you have to kind of drag them to it. Put it under their nose. They don't even want to open the bottle. They just, want to just sit in there for them. I shouldn't say that, but it seems to be true. But Dr. Kate, again, want to thank you so much. And again, encourage people to go to naturalfactors.com, check out the Whole Earth and Sea full line of different supplementation there that's, again, with the fermentation process, makes a huge difference. Again, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too. Bye for now.
And she's so cool. I love her.
She is.
She's very knowledgeable. She has lots of books written about her. So, again, look her up because...
drknd.com.